folks, so thanks for joining on this this pretty exciting video that we've got for you. Jen and I have been terribly busy these last few weeks with winter being here and with winter you know, on our doorstep. We've been doing a lot of upgrades and making a lot of changes to the homestead in preparation. So I want to kind of go through some of those changes with you in this video. First thing I want to talk about is this big guy. Now, I think you may have seen this in another video, but we used to have our outdoor kitchen here, the screen canopies. Well, this used to be over by our garage, and we've moved it over here to give us a little enclosure and then also an open area. Now, that open area right there, even though we do have a few things in there right now, that's where we're going to be parking our snow machine come winter. And we wanted to make sure that we had something that was that we could cover it up with so that it wasn't going to get snowed on and things like that. So this canopy by itself would get destroyed in the winter with the snow landing on the top of it and just the torrential winds that we get here in Maine. So what we did is we went ahead and staked all of the posts with 6-foot metal T-posts all the way around. There's 6 of them total. And on the inside here, I got my grill, so now I can grill, you know, without being snowed on. But the other thing that we did that I thought was really important was all of these joints, we put a sheet metal screw through. So every one of these joints has a sheet metal screw in them. You can see it here as well. And we did that all the way around just to make sure that that this thing wasn't going to fall apart. Now, the only place I didn't do it was up on the tops here. But you know, right there. But I don't think so far it hasn't been an issue, and we had just a few days ago, I think we had like 25 mile an hour gusts, 30 mile an hour gusts, and this thing held up great. So let's go in and see what's going on inside. So in here, again, all we did is, you know, we've got our tarp, you know, tarps in here, and we just use zip ties for the most part. I do have some lighting in here as well. These are 12-volt lights, and they run off of that little 12-volt battery down there. We do have our cook stove, or our propane Camp Chef stove in here that we do use occasionally. And then we also have our freezer, an extra freezer. And this space here, which is where the gas tanks are right now, probably in another week or so, we're going to take the freezer that's in the cabin, and we're going to move it out here so that we don't have to run it on electricity, and it'll just stay frozen. Now, we do still have our sink in here, but it's not set up, it's not hooked up. We disconnected everything, put it all away, and this has become like my little catch-all, but I have to, Jen's telling me I got to get that cleaned up, so that's what I'll be working on here soon. The other thing that we have in here that we are so grateful that we did is we put our V's in here, our V wood shed, our wood, you know, holders. We're gonna fill these up, but the cool thing about that is that when we fill these, we can get about 3 days of wood out of each one. So we're only having to fill these up once a week. So trips to the wood shed are coming, you know, few and far between. So that's really cool. Before that, we were, you know, going to the woodshed almost every day, and then we built these, and now we can stack them up pretty good, and you know, we don't have to worry about going to the shed. Now, let's go take a look at some other things. All right, so this next project, don't make fun of me. One of the biggest asked questions we have is about our solar and our solar rack. So I just told you that we did see some 25 to 30 mile an hour gusts just a few days ago. And as a result of that, we had to make some some changes to the way we were thinking about our rack. As it was, 25 and 30 mile an hour gusts would have ripped my rack apart. There's no doubt about it, especially given the fact that the panels are near vertical in their winter position. So what we've done, don't laugh, function over aesthetics. So what we did is create a massive windbreak behind the panels. Originally my idea was just to, when the winds come, to adjust these, but we did do that. But the problem is it takes a while, and then you have to adjust them back, and so I don't want to keep going back and forth adjusting these panels. So building this windbreak was the next best thing. What we did is, for one, we put the small trailer here, which works great. I mean, that's going to block, a big portion of the wind. But to make sure that we got the wind at the top, so that it wasn't hitting the top of the panels, my neighbor and I built this basically a windbreak wall using slab wood. Now, the reason there's gaps in it, and it's not just a perfectly, non-gapped wall, is because we got to allow some of the gust to flow through. If it doesn't, it's just going to, that wall then becomes like a big, parachute. And so the whole idea of these windbreaks is simply to break the force of that initial gust, and break up the wind, so that it's not so, specific in the direction it's coming. And I think that's the way, that's the best way I can explain it. We just want to break it up. And so, this wall of slab here that we did is along the fence line. And then for the, along the trailer here, we added a wall. And let me show you that one as well. This isn't perfect, guys. This isn't long term either, but this is what we're going to use to get through this winter. We're going to figure out, I've got a few ideas for a long-term solution that's not going to look so just thrown together. But again, this isn't about aesthetics. It's about functionality, and I've got to protect my panels. And being the fact that the ground is frozen, that I've got limited resources, limited materials right now, this is going to work. Well, we're going to test it tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to get 30 mile an hour wind gusts again. But anyway, so on this side, basically what I did is, even though it looks like they're just laying up against, it is all connected. It's all screwed together. It's basically one big wall of slab wood. And then for the open area there that I wasn't able to put slab, because I do need to get into this trailer, because this is kind of my workshop right now. I've got some heat in there. I've got lights in there. So I do need to get into this door. So we put up the windbreak netting. Before I built this the other day, that netting made a massive difference. You could stand on the side of the netting and just get blown, and as soon as you walked on, behind the netting, it was night and day difference. Problem was it just wasn't tall enough to really help, the panels at all, at least the top of the panels. But now, with this wall that we've created, now these panels are actually below the line, so, or the top of the slab wood. So we are really, really happy with the way this came out. Again, it's not the prettiest, but it's not supposed to be. This is how we're protecting our panels this year, and we'll come up with a better solution for the future, a more permanent solution. But for now, this will work. And if you've got similar situation and similar panel setup, drop a note, a comment on what you guys have done, because I'm open to suggestions right now on what we can do. So along the same lines of our solar, we made some big changes to our battery box. If you notice, there are no more vents over here, and the roof is actually at a different pitch. The total inside is completely different as well. We originally built this with no hard walls and bat insulation. Problem with that is that we found mice living in it. Who would have thought? So I ripped the whole thing apart, took all the bat insulation out, put plywood up on and made walls with plywood, so sealed it up, and then we went ahead and put all of the slab wood back on. We got rid of the vents because the vent is now actually in the roof. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So before the actual roof was insulated in this big monstrosity. It took 2 people to take the roof off. It was completely obnoxious. So what I did is we're using this screening back here, and there is about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch gap along the entire back length between the roof and the back of the the shed. This screening here and that gap is where our venting is. Now, if you look, instead of insulating the roof, what we did is added a piece of foam board with reflective insulation on the inside. That just kind of lays here on top, and we've got some screws that we're using to hold it in place. This gap here, so it is at the highest point in the battery bank, to allow all of the gases as these batteries are charging and degassing to have that come out, and then it just flows right out the back. So I'm very, very happy with this modification. Much easier to move and check on the battery bank. As far as the battery bank itself, again, we did rip out all of the old bat insulation since the mice had gotten in there and just destroyed them. Now what we have is we've got 2 inches of insulation around the entire battery bank up here as well. And we did get we had some foil insulation left over from the water pipe bury that we did, and so we used some of that as well. To heat it, we're using the light bulbs, 60-watt bulbs, and there's 2 of them, and this thing works great. We're able to keep the temperature between 50 and 65 degrees, even on bitter cold nights. We have no mice issues, and these batteries are just performing flawlessly right now. Okay, so another modification we made to the homestead is we replaced the roof on top of our well shed. We used to have this green plastic roofing that we had purchased last summer and used, and there were holes ripped, there were holes and rips, and it was just terrible. And so I had some leftover roofing material from the bathroom build, and so I added that. Now, it's not perfect. I mean, you can look here, I had to use some scraps, but everything's overlapped. Nothing's leaking or anything like that. And maybe, next summer I'll, change that section and put a nicer piece there, but for now it's working fine. The other thing that we've done is we changed how our solar battery in the pump shed is being charged with the solar panels. Before these solar panels here were just laying on the roof, we've lifted them up and we added another 100-watt panels here. So these are really just charging batteries for us right now. There's no other practical use for them. The other big upgrade is we've got a new generator. We've got a 10,000-watt Champion generator. That was a huge benefit to the homestead for 2 reasons. Number one, we can run our dryer, and number 2, we don't have any issues with charging the batteries if we ever need to do that. Another project that we wrapped up these last couple weeks is something that we have really been itching to get done. And it is so vitally important to Jen and I being able to get in and out of our homestead. If you remember, or if you've been watching our videos, about 2 months ago, we had a company come in and drop a bunch of big rock on our road into the homestead. Well, unfortunately, we weren't able to have them finish it. Well, we have since had them finish it. They came through and they added all of this rock here, about a third of the way down, and it filled up all the mud holes and fixed all the mud ruts and just the terribleness of what the condition of what this road was in. So we are really, really happy now that we have a nice solid base that we can drive in and out on. And the best part is we don't have to worry about the mud anymore. So that's the big thing, is we don't have to worry about getting stuck in the mud or any of that nastiness. So we're pretty stoked about that too. So that's about it for this video. I appreciate you watching. We're constantly changing, constantly upgrading things, and one of the things we have found about this lifestyle is, especially with this being our first year, we don't know squat. And so this has just been such a big learning curve for us. We're doing the best that we can. We're getting by, we're surviving, we're thriving. We've got, meat in the freezer, we have electricity, we have running water. It's just all these little things that we're just trying to have to deal with. The whole solar panel, issue, boy, that was a big one. We didn't see that coming. We should have, but we didn't. And so we just have to keep, adapting and reacting and making changes as they come, and plan the best that we can. And so that's just it. Well, thanks for watching. Hey, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video.